Well, here's a topic that many of us are not even aware that we're doing when we first start dating, start a relationship, the need to be controlling. Thanks so much for joining us again on Second Act TV. So happy to welcome back Sandy Weiner, the dating coach, relationship expert, and author of Choice Points in Dating. Sandy, thanks so much for being here again.
Always so fun to see you again, Silka.
Well, here's a topic that many of us are not even aware that we're doing when we first start dating, start a relationship. We have all the best intentions in mind, but it just doesn't quite work out. And that's the need to be controlling. And you've written about that, you've done videos on it. And I think this would be really important to talk about because I know personally that was an issue for me. Let's talk about that. Why do we have a need to control?
Well, we often don't even know that we're controlling, but we do it for a few key reasons. And the first one is we're really afraid of letting go. We're afraid of letting go of control, of letting go of the outcome, of getting hurt, of being disappointed, of being disrespected. We think if we lose control, all these bad things are going to happen.
Mhm.
And the second reason is that we want a certain outcome that we think is best for us. So, like, we meet somebody and we think, oh my God, they're the one. And maybe they're not. Most probably they're not. But we think if we can control everything, we can get what we want.
Well, you just described my first few dates when I when I started dating again, and it was so I can't even believe what I did. When I look back, I won't bore you with all the details, but I understand how important it is to draw this to somebody's attention. I wish somebody had done that for me. Let's talk about that. How does it show up? What especially women? I think because it is some control is fear based, dating back to perhaps other things that have happened. And yes, it can happen to both men and women. But I think we are sometimes more fearful than perhaps men are. Would you agree with that?
I don't fully agree with that. I have
Okay.
seen men who are very fearful. I think women are tuned into the whole idea of being liked, and I think men are too. I think we all just want to be liked and loved, and we feel out of control in dating because we can only control our part. We can't control the other person. And it's really vulnerable. We're getting out there, we're opening up to people again and again and again, and we just want to be able to control the other person's response to us. So that shows up in so many ways. It shows up in he sent a text or I sent a text, and did they not respond in time? And maybe it took them a day or two, and we're trying to control the outcome of that, or control the outcome of how the date ends. Will they ask us out again? Do we connect? We're trying to control that. We're trying to control escalating the relationship. We want it to be in our time zone and not zone, but timing,
Yeah.
and not necessarily their timing. And so we're trying to rush things and push ahead and imagine a future before there's even a present. Those are all signs of control.
I can attest to that. Totally. And again, that's why I think this is so important. When I first started dating again, I was traveling between Dallas and California, and I was, relocating. And so when I did date and met my matches here in California, I needed to maximize the tower, optimize the time. And in trying to control setting the dates, I mean, I ran every single one off. I don't blame him. I can't believe I didn't see it.
It's hard to see. It's hard to see. And it's a very common thing that our timing is not their timing. And we just have to kind of coordinate doing this whole dance with each other.
So obviously there's lots of different ways that it shows up, and you just kind of have to decide whether you fall into those categories. Why is it important that we let go of control? Let's talk about that.
Well, control, first of all, it's a fallacy that we can actually control other people. And we become guarded when we're trying to control. We are not as open to the people we date because we have an agenda. So that's one of the reasons. Another one is we have more authentic relationships when we're present and not thinking about the future or the past. So control is really about fast forwarding to the future, rewinding to the past. And when we can get present without that agenda of trying to force it, we can actually not only be more open and vulnerable, we can also really know whether this relationship has legs because we don't have an agenda. We're just kind of letting it unfold in a much more natural way.
That again, that's so hard to do when you're in the throe of it and you really want this to work out. Letting go and well, accepting something will happen if you don't instigate it. I talking about myself again. I wonder if just being a producer where you are in charge of every minute of your life, translates to that, or whether I am representative of a lot of women out there who go through this and are just sabotaging left and right.
I think that you are one of many, including myself. And as much as I've done work on myself, I still fall into getting anxious if I don't hear back from somebody that I liked or wondering where it's going. And it's very easy to fall into that because you can be so together in your entire life. You can be together in your work life. And especially you and I both work for ourselves and we control the aspects of our businesses because we have to, otherwise it would fall apart. But we can't control other people. But we can show up in a way that does influence how things turn out. I think that's what we can reframe. And so we can talk about some ways of letting go of that need to control.
Let's do that, Sandy. Talk to me about that. Tell me, fix me.
Fix you. All right, Silka, here's the first thing you need to do. You're not dating anymore, but dating.
But I'm still controlling.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to let go of that need. It's just we want things to be more predictable in life, and it's a common thing to do. So dating, we forget that dating is not about deciding right away. It's really about discovery. Mm-hmm. And if we put on that hat of that lens that we are just discovering, we don't know a person until we know them. And it takes a while to know somebody. We can feel that instant connection and, oh my God, I haven't felt this way in a long time. And now we're trying to control because I don't want to lose this person because it's the first time it's happened to me in 10 years. And oh my God, and you might be the last person to walk this planet. And so we're trying to lock it down when in reality, we're still in discovery. So stay in discovery mode for longer. And if you can really reframe dating as that discovery process, it's an adventure. You're getting to know them, they're getting to know you. It opens up this beautiful path of knowledge of learning about the other person and them learning about you.
Well, just your soothing voice makes that seem logical and workable. But you're right. Rewinding or going back. No, I dodged two bullets there, which is another lesson. If it's not working out for you right now, maybe it shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking to a client this morning and she had two great dates with somebody and he was texting all the time and then he wasn't calling and he was just texting and then a lot of days were going by and she's like completely anxious and freaking out. Mm-hmm. And so we had a really important discussion today about what you can and can't control. Mm-hmm. And we also talked about looking at facts versus story. And I think this is really important. People who need to control tend to make up stories about the facts. And so if we can just look at what we do know, right? So we know we got this text and this text, we know this happened, but we don't know all the other stuff that we made up. Like, oh, maybe he changed his mind. Maybe he's dating other people. Maybe they went this. It's like, that's where we spiral.
Yeah, great point. And you're absolutely right. And again, I think you know me so well.
So I wanted to talk about we try to control not getting hurt. I think that's a big part of control. And the story that I just shared was about her being vulnerable for the first time in a long time. She was saying to him, I miss you. I want to talk to you. I want to see you. That's not something common for her because she's kind of a zipped up kind of person.
Hmm.
And the fact that she let her guard down a little bit and now he's pulling away,
Mm.
it makes you feel I'm being rejected. Oh my God, this is terrible. But we don't know that. And
Hmm.
so when we put up the guards, because we're controlling not getting hurt, so we're just going to try and play it cool, we also control that we're not going to let love in. And so we need to be open to love. And that's another reason that we need to let go of trying to control everything.
Hmm. Well, and John Gray talks about that a lot. That the male female energy, and that when men pull away, that's normal, and that's hard to understand for us for us women. We do, as you just said or alluded to, is we make up stories about it. We create what is going on, and it's not. And in doing so, we run the men off. And again, we're talking to an audience here that's largely split, men and women, and it does work both ways, because I know when I was pursued by men who seemed to be very controlling or wanted to know exactly when we're going to, it was a huge turnoff, and it's exactly what I did to the guys I liked.
Yeah, I dated a guy early on after my divorce who I had just started dating. So he was probably the second person I dated. And we met over a weekend. He was coming in from out of town. I think we kissed on the second date, right? So not a whole lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
The next day we saw each other and he was like, now you're going to be my girlfriend
Mm.
because I'm all into fidelity and loyalty. And I'm like, wait, what? What happened just now? I just met you. I don't know you. The interesting thing was on his profile, it said, I'm super laid back. I'm the most laid back kind of guy. So that's usually a red flag, by the way, that laid back comment. But he was anything but laid back. And I said to him, I feel like I am choking, like I can't
Yeah.
breathe right now. Just
Yep.
a bye. So yeah, it definitely can work against you to
Yeah.
have to try and lock somebody down. And so we have to give people space.
Well, if anything resonated with our viewers at all, what we're saying, pay attention to what you're doing. Again, to me, it was a revelation. Looking back now, it's like, how was this a revelation? This was like knock somebody over the head. But that's why we're talking about it, because while we can see it when others do it, we don't see it when we do, and that's the only time it's really important. Well, Sandy, we're
Absolutely.
starting to come to the end a little bit. We have about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes or so. In one of the articles you wrote about this, you have here, ask yourself these 3 questions to help you let go of control. Let's talk about that. The first one: what am I afraid will happen if I let go of control? That's brilliant.
I think we often have fears, but we don't go there. We just say, I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then what are you afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
And when we write down all our fears, we can see them more clearly and
Mm-hmm.
realize that, okay, I'm afraid that if I let go of control, that person's going to disappear. Well, do I really want
Mm-hmm.
to be with somebody who disappears if I don't try to control them? I mean, that's not very logical, right?
Right.
Well, what if I say my truth? What will happen? That
Mm-hmm.
person might leave me. Oh, well, then that's the wrong person. So when you
Right.
really start to explore it, you realize, okay, I get it. Now I can
Mm-hmm.
relax a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Your second question: whose side of the street am I on? Again, how that's such a great question.
Well, that's a boundaries question.
Mm-hmm.
And we often, when we're trying to set boundaries and learning how to communicate better, we realize that we often are on the other side of the street, meaning we're thinking about the other person more than our
Mm-hmm.
own needs. And the focus being on, is this working for me? Do I like the way I feel when I'm not with this person? Because
Mm-hmm.
I may feel great when I'm on a date with this person, but if I'm feeling really anxious when I'm not with them, then I either need to speak up and say something like, I need more consistent communication, or if
Mm-hmm.
we're going to get together, then I need to know in advance, or
Mm-hmm.
I, the only way I can really get to know you is if we date more frequently. And is that something you're open to? Being able to have those conversations instead of going, Okay, I'm so worried about offending them, or
Mhm.
I'm thinking about what they're thinking about what they're thinking about. And it's like, let go of that.
Yeah.
Just focus on your side of the street.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then the third here is, when have I let go before and things worked out? Good question.
Yeah, I mean, we can build evidence that things work for us when we look back and see where we've done it before.
Mhm.
Because we have this big fear, I'm going to let go and things are going to be horrible and everything's going to fall apart. Well,
Mhm.
where have I let go before? And things actually worked out for the better.
Mhm.
You mentioned dodging some bullets.
Yeah.
We let go of trying to control and the person disappeared, and that was a good thing.
Mhm.
Or we let go of trying to control and they came closer. That's also a
Mhm.
good thing. And
Yeah.
so let go. Just try and let go. It's easier said than done,
Yeah.
but when you really work through these questions, I think it will really be helpful if you tend to be tight in the wad there and like to control a lot.
No, great advice. And I think it's just so relevant. I don't know, maybe even as we get older, because of all our past hurts and fears, that this plays maybe more of a role than it did earlier. I don't know. But in any case, something to definitely evaluate if this is what you're doing. Sandy, we are at the end of the segment today. Is there anything else you want to add on this topic before we close?
I would just add, be kind to yourself as you're going through letting go of control, because if you've been doing this your whole life, it's going to be a lot of back and forth, and it's okay. Life is messy. Embrace the mess.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. And then Sandy, thank you so much. I always love talking with you. I will link to all of your information, including your new book, Choice Points in Dating. And I look forward to our next conversation on Second Act TV.